And away from South Africa, let's head to Zambia, where the Minister of Health, Sylvia Masebo, says the country has continued to record high numbers of HIV and AIDS infections, especially in adolescents and young women. Ms. Masebo says the high numbers of HIV infections, which ranges from 0 to 14 years, affects more women than men, with at least 60% of people living with HIV.
She attributed the high numbers to unsafe sexual contact, amongst other factors such as culture and socioeconomic vulnerability that women are faced with. She stated that 40% of the new infections were in adolescents and young people aged between 15 and 24 years, with about 11,000 of all new HIV infections in adolescent girls and young people. Joining us this morning is Mr. Henry Kabwe, Media Network on Child Rights and the Development Executive Director. Good morning, Mr. Henry. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
If you may please unmute your microphone. We're unable to hear you. Please. Okay. So, Mr. Henry, let's talk about this conversation. The tender age is Zambia's future, and if teenagers get infected, then there's a lot to worry about Zambia's future. What is leading to these infections amongst young people?
Well, I think we have a problem where it comes to lawlessness in our country. There is an increased sale of alcohol, which is uncontrolled. Somebody can just set up a stand anywhere, and these children are imbibing in alcohol. If you go to the nightclubs, you find that they don't restrict access. These girls just go to these nightclubs without any kind of supervision by the local councils. So I think these are things which are being ignored. If you look at the statement from the minister, there's no reference to this uncontrolled access to alcohol and access to places where a lot of sexual activities happen. Of course, gender-based violence is there, but you find that if these young girls are having access to places where they sell alcohol and selling their bodies in those places, we are most likely to find high cases of HIV. There is a lot of lawlessness within our society because we don't regulate how these people are taken care of, especially the councils. Law enforcement is a problem. We have seen a lot of commitment to law enforcement when it comes to political party activities other than social issues. So we need to ensure that we invest in social issues to protect these children from HIV.
All right. Is there something that you would recommend, that must be done if we plan to address these issues?
Well, yeah, I think there is need for us to ensure that we come up with committees at ward level that can be able to monitor, the sexual activities, among the young people. And also we have this comprehensive sexuality education, which is supposed to teach these young people how to protect their bodies, how to ensure that boys respect girls and girls respect boys, and they relate in a more mutual way, because there is this perception in our country that women are supposed to entertain men, when it comes to sexual issues, and so there is this increase in terms of pedophiles, and it's something that the country must also address. In men who like sleeping with small girls, we must acknowledge that there's an increase. Where I work, we go to schools and we ask girls, how many of you have been approached by teachers? I've never been anywhere where we haven't had any girl, saying that. So the Minister of Education as well should come up with measures to ensure that girls are taught to protect their bodies, at school level, and families must also be able to be, encouraged to talk to their children about sexual issues, because these things are just being discovered on the internet by children, and they start indulging at a tender age. So there's need for us to ensure that we confront the issue, talk of issues of pedophiles, and the need for us to encourage people that are abused to report these cases, because most of these girls, they would want to sleep with adults maybe for money or for results at school, if in case of teachers. So we need to ensure that we open up this discussion, start asking those learners to report cases, introduce comprehensive sexuality education at all schools. It shouldn't be up to the teacher to teach that, so that we are able to have, these children understand how to protect their bodies at a tender age.
Mr. Henry, would you say that the girls are comfortable enough to even have these safe conversations first with the family? What is the structure from the family setting like? And would you say that the girls are safe in the society?
Well, yes, the challenge is that because we had a debate last year when an organization from the United States, started challenging the comprehensive sexuality education curriculum, and churches took up the challenge, and they started influencing the Ministry of General Education that time to withdraw the curriculum, and there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation around the subject. So there's a problem when it comes to families addressing these issues and talking about them. It's normally during the traditional processes like puberty, where girls are taught how to handle a man, which is also negative. But the curriculum basically encourages girls to keep their bodies, to ensure that they understand what love means, that they shouldn't use their bodies as tools for doing business in terms of sex work. So those are some of the things that are supposed to be addressed. We need to ensure that families open up at churches. There are so many, even at mosques. Let's talk about these issues, using the Quran or the Bible, to ensure that, these learners are confronted with these issues. There's a lot of secrets around, sex, but we are seeing these numbers increasing. These girls are having sex. At some point in Zambia, in a year, we had over 16,000 teenage pregnancies from schools, and most of them were from primary schools. And we don't want to talk about them. And people are trying to stop the comprehensive sexuality education curriculum, which is a surprising thing. So there's need for us to ensure that we start confronting these issues. We come up with lessons from all sectors of life, from home, from religious places, from schools, so that these learners can be able to know the need for them to protect themselves from these issues.
I also want to talk about, because the conversation we've had this morning is mostly about minors. You're talking about people in, pupils in, primary schools, offering sex in exchange for results and all that, or money. Is there, should we be having a different conversation concerning prosecuting pedophiles and prosecuting these adults who are taking advantage of these young girls?
Yes, we need to, because it's very shocking that in some schools, they even protect the teachers. They feel that if the issue goes out to the courts of law, the school will be embarrassed. So there's need to, protect the teacher. We're having one case in Southern Province where, the teacher was asked to apologize, and because he fondled the learner's breast, so the mother took up the case. And, the school said, no, the teacher was asked to apologize and buy pizza for the, for the girl, and they wanted to drop the case. Now, and unfortunately, it's like this lady, the mother, is coming from, a failed marriage, and the father to the girl passed out. So the family from the father's side is also influencing her, to withdraw the case, which is very unfortunate. So we need to come up with frameworks that will ensure that these people are prosecuted. I'm also the chairperson of the Zambia National Education Coalition, ZANEC, and we wrote a letter to the Ministry of Education, and they responded saying we need to, get cases of such nature. And the case I've mentioned is one of the issues that we have submitted to them, because we told the ministry that they need to come up with a very strong statement to ensure that, teachers are prosecuted. We have other cases where if a teacher, is found, indulging in sexual activities with the learners, they are transferred to another school, as a form of punishment, maybe a more rural place. But to find that if you get a pedophile to another place, you are basically transferring the problem. So these are some of the challenges that we need to address. There's need for us to ensure that, teachers are prosecuted. And in some schools, unfortunately, it's like an unacceptable thing. Yes. They even call it chalk bonus. Apart from teaching, you have this bonus of having sexual relations with the learners. And what we know in our work, as we address children's issues, there are people that join, these institutions or these professions where they can have easy access to children because they're pedophiles. They want easy access so that they can continue, abusing these children.
Mr.
And there's
Henry,
need
thank
for
you
us
very
to
much
show
really for highlighting what these issues are. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but very quickly, as quickly as you can, please explain to us, you've talked about the comprehensive sexuality guide that or curriculum that should be introduced in schools, but that is being kicked against. What would you say are some of the reasons that this is being kicked against? Because usually people fight against what they do not understand. And you've talked about the merits of this program. Why would you say what are their fears and why are they kicking against this very quickly?
Well, yes, the organization from America I talked about, shared some information about, what the curriculum contained, which was not true. They shared about, I think, 14 issues that were dangerous within the curriculum, which were not in line with the moral values of our country. And that's how those pastors even started having a petition. They started, having a petition to withdraw the curriculum. They were saying that teachers will be standing in front of the learners and teach them how to, how to do sex, which is, wrong. It's not there. The teachers, these are Zambian people that cannot go in front of the learners and start teaching them, because to them, comprehensive sexuality meant that, you're teaching them everything, which was disinformation. In fact, during one program, when bishops are supposed to go on it, I sent the copies of the curriculum to one of the bishops, and they changed their stance after seeing the curriculum. So they were just basically talking from what was provided by that organization without seeing the curriculum. So there's need for us to ensure that, we popularize this curriculum to all African countries, actually, so that our children are safe from, unsafe sex and early sex debut, for them to be able to even avoid child marriages and stay safe.
Mr. Henry Kabwe, thank you very much for that. That's very extensive. It's important that we highlighted that conversation, and thank you very much this morning.